unravel the specific situation and what exactly we can all do to try and make sure we streamline some of those cultural practices.
You are wonderful instruments for enjoyment.
Myself, the Minister for Women, Gender and Social Protection and the IGP and its commanders, they located the little girl, and now, as the police have indicated to you, and so she's been comfortable.
What's the actual age of the girl? 2, whether she was born. 3, did the parents also play any role in what has happened? What about the alleged husband or the person who is alleged to be the husband?
This is the big conversation tonight on Ghana Connect. When culture clashes with modernity and the law comes into play, how do you deal with this? How do you navigate this storm? And in fact, you'd actually realize that even politicians are trying to find a really germane way of dealing with this situation because of the political consequence of all this. And so we connect after this break, and we connect with some really brilliant minds to try and get to the bottom of this, to try and get some answers in terms of what we can do to end some of those unhelpful cultural practices that still permeates Ghanaian society, despite so many laws being in existence against him.
The other day, I visited Kwaku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Shout! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information. We are good together everywhere you go.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Water is needed all day, all night. So remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough. Water is needed all day, all night. So remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntax Tank. A strong, a tough.
Hello, Auntie Araba. Hey, Bugger, how are you doing today? I want to buy Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, but I don't have enough money. So what are you going to do? Can you give me the big size? You know, as for me, I'll pay the balance later.
Today, no credit. I haven't sold much this morning. If you don't have enough money for the big size, why don't you try the 120-gram pack?
There's a 120-gram pack? Introducing the new Pepsodent Cavity Fighter in 120-gram pack size. More affordable and convenient. Get yours today from any supermarket near you. Every smile matters. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello, my name is Mami Akua, an entrepreneur and a mother of two. My work keeps me busy most of the time, and sometimes it takes me away from my family. But the safety and health of my family is very important to me. As a working mother, I cannot afford to take any chances when it comes to matters of health. That is why I signed up for a family healthcare plan from Equity Health Insurance. My family and I have access to over 700 hospitals, clinics, opticians, dentists, pharmacies, and diagnostic centers across the length and breadth of Ghana. With Equity Health Insurance, I no longer have to worry about medical bills. Anytime a member of my family visits a hospital, Equity Health Insurance has got my family and I covered. What about you? Who has got you covered?
Call Equity Health Insurance on 050-660-7910 and talk to them about your family health needs now. Visit equityhealthinsurance.com for more information. Equity Health Insurance, here for you.
There is time for everything, including exclusive breastfeeding by mothers, which starts within the first 30 minutes baby is born till the time the child is 6 months old. Grandma,
Grandpa,
husbands,
let's all come on board Good Life and insist that our child takes only breast milk for the first 6 months. No food, no water, no gripe water.
Breast milk has all the nutrients the child needs to grow strong and healthy. So I ask, how is your good life?
Remember that exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months is best for baby, and good growth starts with right nutrition at birth. Good Life, live it well. It's an everyday thing. Good Life from Ghana Health Service and partners with support from USAID.
Keep this frequency clear.
99.7.
Welcome back to the show. This is still Ghana Connect right here on Joy 99.7 FM. And I can't wait to introduce my guest to you. Today we have a really kind of a very experienced panel, people who really know about this issue of child marriages, a lot of these cultural practices that are seemingly outmoded but are still very pervasive in Ghanaian society. And so tonight on the show, like I told you before the break, we are discussing when modernity clashes with certain cultural practices and when the law comes into play, how do we navigate this part? All of this on the back of this controversial week of the alleged marriage of a 12-year-old to a traditional chief priest here in the Greater Accra region, which has generated such controversy. But like I told you, before I tell you about the persons connecting with us for this important conversation, listen to this.
A voice can be heard shouting, "This is tear robber, this is tear robber," a term suggesting the 12-year-old is a virgin.
You are wonderful instruments for enjoyment.
The MC is then heard saying the 63-year-old man loves to play romance and will be engaged in romance today, and that, quote, he will use the girl as a wonderful instrument for enjoyment.
are saying that even one child going through this is not enough. It's bad enough. And therefore, we are going to work with all agencies, all partners, for people and institutions to act. That's all we are saying.
The first concern was the welfare and the protection of the minor. And that's what preoccupied us up to at dawn this morning. So myself, the Minister for Women, Gender and Social Protection and the IDP and its commanders located the little girl, and now, as the police have indicated to you, and so she's in comfortable location now.
If Babu has, through divine intervention, taken our lady who is our queen, then it is the deity that has something to do with our queen, and not Babu Ulomo as a person. No carnal relationship or marriage involved as perceived by many. For the records, the other wives to their deity have their own respective legal husbands. The items presented on Saturday 30th March 2024 were not the usual items presented during marriage rites.
Law. We have various laws regulating how children are treated. We are not passing judgment at this stage. What we are seeking to do is to involve the law enforcement agencies, the Ghana Police Service especially, investigate the matter. If at the end of the day there is evidence that someone can be charged for an offense under our law, we will definitely go after that person and charge that person for offense accordingly.
It's such a topical issue this week, and finally we're getting to have our bite here on Ghana Connect. We have some interest in mind, but before I introduce them to you, please do join us. For those of you listening, what do you make of this specific issue around this 12 or 16-year-old, depending on where you stand and whatever the age you want to believe? The police is still investigating. We want to get the details of that. But if you are listening to us, please share your messages with us. 055 1111 997 055 997, and I'll be very excited later on the show to read your messages. But connecting with us on this important conversation, Nana Kofi Akwa is the pastor and blogger, and Nana Kofi Akwa is a regular on this show. He hasn't been around for a while, but it's good to welcome him back on the show tonight. Nana Kofi Akwa, good evening and welcome to the show. If you can unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Right, it's good.
Good evening, and thanks for having me on the show.
Great, thanks for connecting with us as well. Lamnatu Adam is executive director at Songtaba, and they do a lot of work around these issues, and so she's quite adept and has some information to share with us. Lamnatu, it's good to have you connect with us on Ghana Connect.
Hello, good evening. Let me say salam alaikum to our brothers. It's a month of Ramadan, and the blessings of Ramadan be with us. Good to have you too.
Alhamdulillah. Felicia Anko is field supervisor at AfriKids Ghana, work with a lot of children, and this is a matter that involves children, and she's connecting with us on this. Felicia, good to have you connect with us.
Good evening. Good to be here. I'm super excited to actually be part of you. So once again, good evening.
Well, Clement Ayi is also in Germany. He is with the Hochschule Darmstadt University of Applied Sciences, a social work scholar, with keen research interest in the area of child protection. He's also connected with us all the way from Germany. Clement?
Hello.
Yes, Clement, good to have you connect with us.
Yeah, good to be on the show.
Great. And we expect to have Reverend Jesse Ni Ankra. He speaks for the traditional authorities in Nungwa, and they've been at the center of this. He's agreed to speak with us. He's unable to join us for now, but we expect that he will join us somewhere along the line, and then we also be connecting with Shaiba to Abdul Rashid. So let me start right from Nana Kofi Akwa and ask what you make of this situation. When you heard of it, what did you think about all that was going on?
I think that my initial reaction was shock that this would happen in 2024. But also, there was a part of me that I think I was very, very disappointed that it happened. And I think the more excuses people made for it, the more reasons they gave and all the stories, all the attempts they made to spin the story just broke my heart. You see, this idea of people marrying virgins or shrines marrying virgins or deities marrying virgins isn't new. It is ancient. In fact, if you take all the major religions of the world, from Christianity, Judaism, Islam, these things are really not new. But it cannot be a justification in 2024. If you live in a country like Ghana, which is a democracy, and we have laws, and the laws of the land tell you that a girl younger than 18 cannot give consent. So any sexual relations whatsoever, anything sex-related you indulge in with a girl younger than 18 is considered statutory rape. You know, that is what the law says. I think it's 16 or 18, whatever it is. The legal experts will get into that. You cannot go for a 12-year-old and then come and tell us it is the God and it is not a human being. The woman, at the ceremony, he had her saying, wife, you know, the acronym she used, something instrument for your enjoyment. You know, and that is wife. You know, and we know that when girls are dedicated to these shrines or these gods, what happens is that even when they are dedicated before they hit puberty, all the priest does is wait for her to start menstruating and they start sleeping with them. You know, yes, in our history, in our traditions from old, we used to marry girls off from when they hit puberty, when they start menstruating. In old societies, there was nothing like adolescence. The concept of adolescence is a modern concept. Where now we say that just because a girl has started menstruating, that doesn't mean she's ready to be a wife or mother. And this information is based on modern knowledge we have when we look at the quality of health, the quality of education, the total well-being of our girl child. You know, and it is important that society stays dynamic. So the more we get to know, the better we get to know, the better we adapt. You know, so you cannot say it is your tradition. If we are all going to hang on to traditions, we'll be killing children and burying them, be killing people and burying them when somebody dies. You know, the faithful people will be sacrificing human beings at a fashion. No, you have to evolve. And that is the biggest shame. And I say this as somebody whose mother is from Osu Kinkanwe. You know, it is. I'm disappointed. And all I expect the leaders of the Ghana community to say is, we are sorry, we will amend our traditions. They should stop trying to spin stories to justify it. It is backward. It holds us back. It is not progressive. And these things, the elements in our cultures and traditions that hold us back and don't help us progress, we have to drop them. All human societies, when Mary, the Virgin Mary who conceived Jesus, when she conceived Jesus, theologians will tell you she was between 14 and 15 years old, you know. But at that time, it was acceptable. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam married Aisha, she was believed to be about 8-9 years old. At that time, in most of these societies, these things were the norm. But we're in 2024. So Christians cannot say because Mary gave birth as a teenager, teenage pregnancy is okay. Muslims cannot say because the prophet, the Prophet Muhammad married a young girl at that, they are going to do that. No, the times have changed. And I think this is what we are saying to the Ghana people, or the people of Nungwa. We are not condemning you. We don't hate you. We love you. We are part of you. But we are saying, Charlie, the times have changed, and we have to change with the times. Thank you.
I mean, Felicia, Nana Kofi Akwa seemed to have zoomed right into the conversation. And I want you to comment on what you think of that. But also, there's also been concerns about whether or not the lady is 12 or maybe 15, almost 16. Does that make any difference for this whole conversation for you when you listen to all that has been said?
Thank you once again for having me. I think, excuse me to use this to start. You know, when you, a thief is caught handed, he or she will find something to justify his action. And I think that is purely what they are doing right now. My first time of seeing this, I saw it on Facebook. I was like, what is this? In our today's world, in today where we are living in a global village where everything is technology, people are still dwelling in this kind of tradition. Now, let me draw our attention back to this female genital mutilation. And I would say that our traditions are not static. They are bound to change. Just like my fellow panelists have just mentioned. They are bound to change. Why did they move from this female mutilation stuff? Because they saw it's a barbaric act. I don't know why these people are seeing the whole thing like it's because people are coming after them, that they are coming out with this explanation that the child is 16 years and not 12 years. To me, it is something that they are trying to run away from. They are trying to justify their actions, which is so barbaric. It's not something, and I see people are trying to comment to support this, and I see people that we think they are intellectual, they think deep into this thing and still come out to defend, forgetting that this is a child. This thing they have done, have they acted in the best interest of the child? Since it started, I've not really heard much about the child family or parent coming to say something. What has the child family have to do with this? Are they in line with what they are doing? Is this child even aware of what they are actually doing? You know,
I mean,
they said it's 16 years. I still not think it's the right thing.
Is the right thing to do?
It's a decision that is not coming from the child. It is not a decision from the child. And I will say again, are they acting in the best interest of this child? Where we have been told that there's a law in Ghana that says that whatever you do, you should do it in the best interest of that child.
I mean, that's so crucial to this whole conversation, because apart from consent, of course, and if the kid is, if the child in contention is 12, then she can't obviously even consent in the first place. So the welfare of this child is such crucial element of this whole conversation. But a good point to bring in Lamnatu. And Lamnatu, I hope you've had something to break your fast. I've just done mine here in the studio. But what I want to ask is this an isolated situation? I mean, flowing from where Felicia just leaves off about how backward this is this an isolated situation, or in running your NGO and it's kind of crisscrossing the country, you sort of get information that probably this is perverse and this is just the only thing that we've heard in the media?
Hello. This is not an isolated case. I think that child marriage has been with us. And Ghana as a country is home to about 2 million child brides. And if you look within the statistics that we have, the 5 northern regions holds about 40% of the child marriage cases. And child marriage manifests in different forms, like we have it in betrothal, as we see in the Nungwa case. We also have in exchange marriages. We also have forced marriages, and then also elopement. And so for the discussions in focus, which is about betrothal, it is not new. It's just surprising that in as much as we are working harder, making little progress, we get to see this from a more enlightened place. I mean, if this was coming from a very rural community, I would have said that probably they are not too much enlightened. But if you look at the caliber of the Nungua tradition and the people who are trying to, find some justification, you ask yourself, are we in this country at all recognizing that there's no law that says that any child can be betrothed or any child can be married before age 18? And so even the justification that the child is 16 years, it means that she still cannot consent to marriage.
I mean, do you even accept this premise, this explanation that this is betrothal? Because I mean, you hear the MCs in during that ceremony, and they talk about how they've presented the materials to the lady, see-through nighties that she has to wear to entice the husband. Or is this betrothal, or this? Do you think is just an afterthought of an explanation?
I think that you cannot betroth anybody below the age of 18. So it is not, because the person in question hasn't consented. And you cannot make any decision for the child except it is in the child's best interest. And in this situation, this is not, the best interest of the child. I mean, we are virtually robbing the girl of her childhood.
I mean, thanks, Lamnatu, and hold it there for me. Let me bring in Clement. And Clement, Lamnatu gives us a certain context for this conversation. Talks about how widespread this may be. 2 million, or I mean, the number of child brides that we have in the country. I mean, this is something that is going on. What is, I mean, for someone like you who's done a lot of work on social work, what might be influencing this so much so that so many decades into a society that should be really enlightened, we still have pockets of these situations all over the place?
Yes. Thank you very much. So I think it also boils down to ignorance or knowledge of the law in our part of the world. So we are in a country where we have laws, but then even citizens are not aware of the laws that govern the country. How many children even know that there's an act that governs, that protects the rights of children? How many children are aware of the Children's Act itself? So with this issue, with this issue of please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, so with this issue, we are looking at a child that has been betrothed. And now when you read the Children's Act, it categorically states that when we say a child, who is a child? A child, it says that a person who is below the ages of 18. So, and whatever reason that will be given doesn't really justify why a child should be married, because whether 12 years or 16 is below the cutoff age, that is 18. So whether the person is 12 or 16, the person is still a child, and therefore whatever that is done should be in the child's best interest. So now whatever the reason that they were given was on cultural grounds, but then let me state that there is no justification for child marriage whatsoever. The question is, whatever that is done, is it serving the child's best interest? How is the child going to live? My colleague said that it has robbed the child of her childhood. I mean, as a child, you are supposed to grow up freely. You are supposed to engage in child play. I mean, things that will help you grow and develop as a child, emotionally, mentally, and everything, even physically. And this is something that in this current dispensation, 2024, I mean, it's surprising and it's rather unfortunate that it came at a time that UNICEF has even published that child marriage was declining in Ghana. And then, boom, this issue just came into the scene. So I think it is something that we have to take seriously. And I also think that it is because there hasn't been enough sensitization about the laws of the country. How many of us know about the laws that govern us? Assuming that the parents of the child are aware of the child's rights, even the child herself is aware of her rights, I mean, this thing wouldn't have happened. There will be swift, intervention. So going down, we have to look at how the knowledge of the law is how the public understand the law and their awareness of the laws that govern the country and the systems that are in place to ensure that when such issues happen, I mean, if the family is aware, if the parents are aware, if the child is aware, I mean, this thing wouldn't have gotten to where it was at the first place. And now BBC is reporting Ghana to be a backward country just because of this recent issue. So I think moving forward, we have to look at the best interest of the child. How is the child protected in this issue? Because from every justification that has been given, nothing about protecting the child has been mentioned. It's about cultural belief, it's about whatever. But then where does the child comes in
all of this? I mean, good point there.
How are we looking at the child's education? Are we looking at the child's health? Are we looking at the child's mental state? Even as a child, are we looking at his interactions with peers, friends at school? We are not looking at that. But then the interest is a cultural something. And again, there is no justification for child marriage. And I think it calls on relevant stakeholders to, act swiftly to abolish this thing. We are in an era that, Ghana should be above these such happenings. We don't have to be recording issues like child marriage. This is very barbaric. It is backward, and it doesn't really speak well of our society, especially given the fact that Ghana is a signatory to a lot of international conventions, and the Charter on the Rights of Children is explicitly against such issues of child marriage. Thank you.
Nana Kofi-Akwa, this is big 2024, as some would say. And we've just heard from Lamna to how widespread this may be. That in fact, there may be so many child brides all over the place. Many of them probably forced out of their will. And in fact, there can be no consent at all. These are kids. These are persons who can't think for themselves. And they're being forced in this. Are you shocked about the numbers that are coming in? And does that mean to you that what we've just seen around Nungwa is just a tip of the iceberg, and it's a real big issue that we must all move in and deal with?
Yes, I am not shocked because of the work I do. Apart from being a pastor, I also work as a documentary photographer and photojournalist. I have photographed in this country, right here in Accra. I have photographed 14-year-old mothers, 13-year-old in this year's Bakate in Elmina. I photographed a 13-year-old mother. Her child is a year old and she's 13. I have photographed 14-year-old mothers in Ashanti region. I remember one particular girl, she didn't even know the name of her husband. She just knew him as Kofi Papa or Bra. She didn't know his full name. And I'm talking about people who live together. In the Elmina case, the 13-year-old girl, I asked her about the father of the child, and basically her mother is taking care of her husband, who is also a teenager, and herself and her baby. So they all live with her mother. In the northern region, I photographed a 15-year-old mother. She is married to her husband, who is 32, and they live together with his family. So she's officially married properly, and she's 15. I have seen this. I also did a story on fistula in Mali, and it is even worse in Mali. And the last time I did a story on this in Burkina Faso, I noticed that one of the arguments they made was that because of the jihadist activities and climate change, farming has become very difficult to live off farming. So families now sell their daughters. I won't say marry off their daughters. I would say sell off their daughters early to husbands so that they can get cows and money. And if you can prove your daughter is a virgin, she fetches more money. So it is business. If we were to find the parents of this little girl, you would discover that they have received some form of compensation, because no normal human being in 2024, I have a 14-year-old daughter, so I'm saying this as a father, no normal human being in 2024 would easily give their daughter away at 12 years old to a 63-year-old man. I am 48, and I will be ashamed to be associated with even being married to a 20-year-old. Because if at 48, if I married a 20-year-old, it means that my children, if I give birth early, my children will be older than her. At 63, if you marry a 12-year-old, his grandchildren from his first wife will be older than his wife. It is ridiculous. But you see, that's part of the problem, religion. And here I speak as a pastor. You can take any nonsense and justify it with religion. There was an old man who was saying this is not the chief's, not the woman's choice, but the God. It is the deity that chose the girl. I mean, I have heard even worse stupid statements made in the name of Christianity and other religions. But fortunately, we live in a country where there is law. And what I want to say is that, and I say this very sensitively, I'm very passionate about this because as somebody whose mother is from Osu, I know how many times I hear Gans complain that foreigners come to our land, we are hospitable, but they don't respect us. This is not about being disrespected as a Ghana person. This is saying that if we found any 63-year-old man anywhere in Ghana, whether they are a native of the land they live on or a foreigner of the land they live on, and they are sexually interested in a 12-year-old, that person should be in jail. It is not acceptable. And if this is what your deity will choose for you, you have to go to your deity and say, deity, oh fine, this is not 1844. This is not 1728. Be 2024. Go to your deity and educate your deity. It is a shame. And I'm saying this because it goes on in the pockets. You go to a lot of our traditional communities, especially the further away you move from the cities, the worse it gets. I have seen 12-year-old prostitutes right behind the Menchia Palace in Ashanti region. There are a few brothels there behind the Menchia Palace. I have seen 12-year-old, 13-year-old sex workers, and they are not standing by the roadside. They have rooms. Okay, so they are permanent. We call them sitters. That's the technical word for them. They are sitters. So they have a room, they rent a room. You come, this is their room. If you go there 20 times a week, you will find them there. And they live right behind the Menchia Palace. So these things, Arinaism is a big problem in this country. Pedophilia is a huge problem in this country. And if you were to get deep into trying to address the problem of pedophilia, a lot of prominent people in this country will probably end up in jail. It is part of our tradition and custom and practices that happens that everybody knows about. When we were in secondary school, didn't you know teachers who were sleeping with little kids? Even in primary school, these things have been going on for years, and it's about time. Maybe this offers us opportunity as a nation to come together, all religions, all people, all tribes, and have one voice and say no more to this nonsense in this country.
No more. And Lamnot, you brought the numbers, and Nana Kufiakwa has given it some quiet flesh. In the work you do, what is contributing to this? Obviously, poverty is such a big thing, but has the state abdicated its responsibility in all of this in terms of being able to be down there and ensure that children are not offered in marriages when they are young, FGM is not happening, and all these other cultural practices that are simply outmoded? As we learned in social studies, they're outmoded, but it seems to be really thriving.
So, as Reverend has mentioned, we have all the laws, the international declarations that Ghana has signed onto our own constitution, have all frowned on child marriages. So the policy is there. We have the child marriage framework. We have in various institutions safeguarding policies that are all guarding towards the protection of children. Then where is the gap? And the gap is the fact that the policies are not well implemented. For example, I'm asking myself, why isn't there any arrest yet? Because this is a crime. Yeah. This is a crime, and yet there's no arrest. So what is stopping it? Because it's not like this is an information that has been shielded. We know where this has happened. We know who and who is involved. The police is aware of this. So what's hindering the arrest? Except that we are saying that this is not a crime. And then there's no respect for the laws that we have. And that is one of the reasons why we having such a situation, that the law is not safe, that we are not working with the laws that we have set for ourselves. We hide behind culture, tradition, and religion and perpetuate violence. And so I'm asking that what's happening and why haven't we even had any official statement, except that it has come and I'm not aware, I'm not privy to it, from even the traditional council or the House of Chiefs, because this involves a traditional authority or a leader. I mean, we should have people, institutions condemning this. That's why for Women's Rights Network in Ghana, we've issued a statement condemning it. The Girls Not Bride platform in Ghana, we've issued a statement condemning, and several others, Amnesty International, all the women's rights organizations and human rights organizations have, their voice have been heard on this. What are the rest of the institutions do? Because this is something that we must all come out to say no. No justification whatsoever, whether identity or whatever, not in the 24th century, in the 20th century. I mean, we cannot have this in 2024, still having, and the justification that some deity or some tradition has called for it. No, we can't. And so the laws are the reason why this is happening. We are not proactive with our law. And there's no motivation because at the end of this all, we're all going to be angry and nothing is going to happen. And tomorrow you hear another traditional leader or another person doing it because even the person in high position has done it and nothing has happened.
And nothing has really happened. Of course, it goes right to the bone of this issue, and that's why I want to bring in Shaiba too, who's just joining us who's just connecting with us on the phone. There's been quite anger that has met this. But are you generally satisfied with how collectively as a state we've dealt with this? And you think it really sends a good signal out there that, listen, this is not something we're going to tolerate, or that the state just hasn't been tough enough?
Thank you very much for Kwaku for bringing me on to share my opinion. But I think that I definitely agree with the sentiment of a lot of the people in the community that fight for children's rights, that the state or the general reaction of people in power to this issue hasn't been exactly satisfactory. And I almost feel like people are jumping hoops around the issue, coming up with one explanation after the other. And I've been very keen following this issue. And it's like, what exactly are we saying? Are we saying that this thing is wrong and this is the penalty for such actions? Or are we listening to explanations that, oh, she's 13, one day we say she's 16. But it's like, how does it make it better? How does her age being just 3 years more or 3 years less make it any better that for a very long time our culture and customs have been unfortunately very exploitative of women from very young ages? And I think that we have to come to a point where we decide, especially if we are interested in giving women back their rights, that maybe betrothing someone isn't exactly beneficial. Maybe a 12-year-old shouldn't be put in a situation where she's doing a pretend marriage, because that's the explanation. Is like, it's not exactly a marriage, it's just customary. Then you don't need to do it. Why don't you find someone else that's of age that would agree to this? If it is just a tradition, traditions are not set in stone. Culture is supposed to be dynamic. Culture changes. But we act like our traditions can never change since the times of our ancestors. But then that's not the thing. That's the whole reason for education. So the whole, reaction and explanation to this situation has been rather disappointing. And it sends a signal that maybe we just are barking about, oh, we want to protect our girls, but then we are blatantly watching for a young girl to be put in a situation where we would never allow for, say, our siblings. And that's the politics I hate playing, or if it was your sister. You should not be in an approximation with somebody to realize that whatever is happening to them is wrong. So I have been very disappointed, and almost I don't want to even tune into the news anymore about it, because the explanations just get disappointing as the day goes by.
I mean, good points you make there. And as journalists, we have to keep carrying these explanations because that's our job to be able to represent to the public both sides of the issue. And in fact, on this show, we've invited some person, the Reverend, who speaks for the Traditional Council, to really come on. He's not been able to make it as of yet, but that is what we all have to do to try and be representative as much as possible, so that everybody gets to hear each side of the story. So, I mean, as we inch closer to the end of the show, we need to start getting, lessons we are learning from this and what exactly should happen going forward. And I want to start from you, Felicia, before I go to Clement. What should be happening immediately to send a signal that this is not something we will tolerate and all the outmoded cultural practices, many of which we've made laws to criminalize? It's not something we are going to tolerate, no matter who you are.
Okay, so my colleague made mention of the law not being enforced. We have the laws in Ghana now, but these laws are sleeping on issues like this. The laws that are supposed to protect us, take us out of these things, punish the culprit for some of these acts, are not being acted. They are dead. I want to bring you to a scenario. I'm working with Africa's Ghana, and so almost every day I'm on the field. There's this girl that was abducted without her knowledge, without the parents' knowledge. This girl was asked to go and buy a tin of sardine, and so not knowing the plan had already been initiated. So the act was supposed to be done in a way that when the girl is going to buy the supposed sardine, they'll pick her from there. And it happened. Now, Africans happened to rescue this girl. We wanted to follow the case. It is her auntie from the house whose children had completed nursing school who initiated this act. This woman negotiated with the police. They picked her up. Along the middle of the journey, she negotiated with them and they left the woman to go. So you see, the problem is not the communities. The problem is the laws. Now, Madam Lama said, these laws are not being enforced. They are sleeping. I bring a case of a child married to you. Then instead of you to act on it, then you get up to tell me that, oh, we are families. Let's settle this in the house. So up till now, nobody has been used as a scapegoat in terms of these things.
And that is why it is still happening.
Until the law is celebrated, sensitize the people with. I go around to tell these children about their rights. And they're like, so we children, we also have rights.
We have these rights.
I have several community engagement where I talk about children's rights. And I ask, some of the questions I do post to them, I was like, how do you understand when they said, this is a child? And they begin to define a child as 2 years old. A child is someone who is not up to 10 years. So that will clearly tell you that the society, they are aware of laws, but they don't know how the laws are working.
So there's a certain gap in terms of the knowledge that is being shared, even by these children who are affected by some of these very, quite plainly barbaric acts. But time to bring in Michael Bapani-Ashale, who has been scouting social media. And this has been big on social media. This has been big on the internet everywhere. People have been commenting on this a lot. And so Michael has been getting some messages and is joining us in studio with those. Well, Michael, what are people saying on social media?
Kwaku, let's start from Teshi, right? Where Danso says, well,
Teshi is very close to Numatu.
they are sort of sister-brother community of a sort. So someone says, the teaching of our traditions and customs in our schools is the cause of this confusion. We have wasted our time trying to be like the white, and we have now forgotten our own traditions and cultural values as African people. We are fighting a wrong cause by denying the chosen girl her duty. The 12-year-old girl is from a royal house and it's her birthright to be the stool wife in order to control and oversee all the women of Nugwa. Let's channel our energy on the 9 years old hookup girls on the street and save them. So I've read it. I'm not really quite getting.
I mean, Danso says that, well, that's a big issue, but this girl is quite more protected than a 9-year-old hookup who is on the street, or this girl is from a royal house and is the birthright to be the stool, so you should allow it to happen. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure some of your panelists would definitely have a take at this, especially about the part about birthright. Now, let's go to Ajingo. And Ajingo says, well, he's Ajiman Joseph from Community 9. He says, I think the traditional authorities about this brouhaha is just trying to be smart. But what is the mother also saying? Well, he wants to know what the parents of the lady will have to say about this particular situation. This young lady are allowed to go to school? Well, some more questions, I guess, answers will come up in the coming days. Let's go to the Volta region, where Salom is asking, what are the parents of the child also saying about this unfortunate issue? The use of unfortunate probably gives me an idea where Salom is coming from. Let's go to Saint OJ. He says, to say the least, this discussion is in bad taste. The hypocrisy, the level of knowledge and poor presentation of facts. Are we, as a people, supposed to live to please the outside world? Well, has anybody ever been seen many children on our streets at the mercy of the weather and the traffic lights? Okay, let's say they are not humans. This girl has not been known carnally, not to say the action is right, but the sheer hypocrisy today people talk like now. We are no more Ghanaians. Well, he's also making the point, just as we read earlier, about the contrast in trying to protect one lady when there are thousands of them on the streets every morning. That's a very long one here. I want you to
I think it's interesting. So it says,
this issue about the supposed marriage of a teenager has been overstretched unnecessarily. What we fail to acknowledge is that the African is very spiritual. Discussion on issues of spirituality needs sober reflection, understanding, circumspection, true wisdom, and common sense. The little woman is not a wife, so to speak, as a woman expected to perform marital responsibilities. The lady who emceed the ceremony misled everybody. Very wrong narrative of the occasion. She's initiated into a marriage to a deity and being taught her responsibilities to the deity. It's an ancient phenomenon practiced by our fathers and mothers of old. What we must be concerned about is to discuss how the practice should be applied without negatively affecting the rights and protection of the little woman. So, Michael, let's have one last message and then let's get back to our panel.
Yeah, so let's go to... So the one you read is from the Ahanta.
Yes, Nana Jensi Amwako.
Yeah, in Ahanta, Western region, yes.
Yeah.
So this one, let's go to Achu Adato. He says, please, this is a clear violation of the laws of Ghana. Ghana police must have long invited the priest, parents, and all those concerned for the law of the land to deal with them. What is Ghana police waiting for all this while? These practices are domicile inspired. I demand repentance and surrendering of their lives to Christ Jesus for liberty. But again, to talk about the Ghana police, we know quite a number of them. Things have been done in the space.
They've been able to get the family, and they are currently at the
and just yesterday,
custody.
the Ministry of Information released a statement. To that effect, bringing us up to speed. What is happening here is that the statement of the traditional authorities have been taken, and that we are hoping that some finality will be brought to the matter in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much, Michael. And Clement, let me bring you in. The comments have been quite split down the middle. There are so many people who are for and against. But what should we do going forward? So that, listen, I don't want to come back to Ghana Connect in the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year to come and do another show about another outmoded cultural practice that is still very perverse in our society. What do we do going forward?
I think with the comments that we've read so far, it's clearly on to be wrong or right. I mean, our positions as citizens or as individuals on what is wrong or right is divided. That is why we have different perspectives coming in. But then the question is, what is the best interest? I mean, that is what we seek to address in this conversation tonight. So moving forward, I think that we realize that what has happened has also, in a way, exposed the kind of selective justice system that we operate in our country. You know, anytime a crime is committed, we look at the people that are involved before the law actually acts on the issue. So if it happens that there are a kind of high-profile persons, people who hold much influence, then the law kind of relaxes in acting. But then if it is a nobody, then the law quickly acts and, you know, in a quest to ensure justice. So I think it has exposed the kind of selective justice system that we have in our country on such issues. So moving forward, I think our laws have to work. I always say that with Ghana, we have everything that we need. The laws are there. They look very beautiful on paper, but then in actuality, we don't see them happening.
So beautiful laws exist. I mean, the point has been made quite forcefully by Clement that the laws exist, but we are just not implementing them. Sorry, but before you go, you've heard comments. There are people who say that there's nothing wrong with what's going on, and we are just trying to live to please the West, and we are just being. I mean, a lot of things have been said in the text messages. How do you react?
I think it's very interesting that whenever we mention issues of child rights, for example, we quickly jump to, we are pandering to the West. Are we by any chance saying that we as Africans in our culture have not been protective of our children? Because that would be a very wrong representation of what our culture has been, especially because I grew up in Ghana and I feel like very much we have been protective of children. So when we want to make a point, I think we could definitely talk about maybe a respect of culture and what customs we have, but I do not think that fighting for the protection of children is a Western concept, because it's not. That being said, and this whole whataboutism of, but there's a 9-year hookup, that 9-year hookup, there are countless organizations in Ghana that are protecting and fighting to protect the rights of children. And without the existence of these people, an event like this in the public eye would not have summoned this much anger in the Ghanaian people. So it's not about, but there's this one here, but there's that one there. It's about this came to the public eye and we are discussing this. So we need to drop the whataboutism and listen to the criticisms as they are coming. Because I don't think anyone is saying, we don't have to celebrate our culture. It's about, let's take another look at our cultures and customs. What is outdated? What isn't? How do we protect our children more?
And then quite make some good progress on that. Shaba, thank you very much. Let me give the last word to Nana Kofi. You've heard from people on social media. We've just read some of the comments who say that, listen, you are just pandering to the West. You're just trying to please the BBC or foreign media entities and all that. In 30 seconds, what is your reaction to that, and how do we deal with these issues so that we don't get back to them at all?
This is Ghana. We have laws in Ghana. Forget the West, Ghana. By the laws of Ghana, a girl younger than 18 cannot give consent. And to the gentleman who said the girl is from royal blood and they are making her queen mother so she can control the women of Dungwa. You have an 80-year-old president. See the state your economy is in. You think a 12-year-old girl has the capacity to turn the destiny of the women of Nungwa around? Get serious. Get serious. Get serious. Use the brain God gave you. What is wrong is wrong. What happened is shameful. It is wrong. The people of Nungwa, sit with your elders and catch up with the times. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much, Nana Kofi Akwa. And that's how we draw down the curtains on this show. And it's been an interesting conversation. Shaiba to Abdul Rashid, thank you exceedingly for connecting with us. Nana Kofi Akwa, the last word was for you. Thank you so much. Lamna Tuwadam, Executive Director, Songtamba, thank you very much. Felicia Anko, Field Supervisor, AfriKids Ghana, thank you so much. And Clement Ayi joined us from Germany, brought us some perspective as a social worker and what he's been able to get from there. Thank you. Thank you very much as well. We're expecting to hear from Reverend Jesse Nyankra. He speaks for the traditional authority there, but he was unable to join us. I'm sure maybe in the course of the week, we probably get to hear from them. The library is up next with Andy Dosty. My name is Kwaku Asante. Thanks for listening to us, and hopefully next week, if you're still here, we'll be back your way with another exciting edition of Ghana Connect. Have a good evening.